Hello, this is Debbie McAllister, and this is Light Up Your Worth. I am so excited today to bring you today's guest, Cathy Gasper. She's a chakra coach, she's a Reiki master, she's a Prana healer, and I'm really excited for her to join us. We're going to be talking about some chakras and anxieties, and we're going to dig into what prana healing is. So welcome, Cathy.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So happy to have you here. I know I
It's
told you
so
we're
fun that we connected.
I know it is. It's amazing what social media does, right? When you're able to connect across the US and connect over really, bringing healing to the world and using spiritual, energetic practices. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to connect. So thanks for joining me. I want to start out and have you talked and share with the audience what is prana healing? I know I've had some, so I would love to hear, for others to understand what it is. And I'm going to just leave it there. I'm going to stop talking.
We'll get right into it. So it's a healing modality. It works with energy. I know a lot of people are a little bit more familiar with Reiki, and they complement each other, but Reiki is where you channel divine energy and it kind of knows what it's doing. Pranic healing is more of a two-step process. So the first step, we're manually cleaning out like disease, congested energy, blocks, cords, and then you're manually replacing it with the correct prana that's needed. And so prana is a little bit different than Reiki energy. Prana is free to us. You don't have to be attuned to have access to it. It comes from nature. It comes from the ground, the trees, the sun, the air. And basically with the training, there's prana, but you can break it out into its different specialities and use it for what their jobs are. Right?
Yeah. So I had never, thank you for that explanation, being a Reiki master myself. And I didn't realize that with prana healing that you didn't have to be attuned to it.
No, it's energy work for dummies. Anybody can do it.
Well, and when I've seen it, my experiences of it were in probably about 15, maybe 10 years ago when I lived in the Bay Area. There was a metaphysical group that I was part of that was from Meetup. Mm-hmm. And we would go, and it was like every Wednesday night you could go to, in San Jose, a place called Sonny's conference room is actually was the name of the meeting. And you would go there and they were practitioners there. And and they would kind of do what you said too. I would stand there with my hands out, and then they would like scan me. So I think they were at all multiple levels, right? It gave the opportunity for practitioners to practice. But they would scan us, and they always seem to use a like a wand.
Oh yeah. Something like this.
Yes, exactly like that. Yep. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I have some wands, so we use this for different purposes. Like I said, you could break the prana out for the different specialities. So like tree prana, root grounding prana is more for like if you break a bone. If you have a broken bone, you can go and sit your butt up to a tree and just get as much love from this tree as possible, because that's the energy that your body uses to heal broken bones.
Wow.
But that's different from water energy. And so with the training, you can break it up and use it for what the body needs or in combination. So like I just used pranic healing on a dog the other day. My dog was playing with another dog, and they were being pretty rambunctious, and the other dog started to bleed. And I had to take my dog and go and put him in the car. He had just been, his toenails were just clipped that day. And so his foot was bleeding. So there's a technique you can do that stops bleeding. And so I did it on the dog. I had to do 2 quick rounds, and his little toe stopped bleeding. And it's hard to get those toenails to stop bleeding at that quick.
When they quit, they hit the quick. Mm-hmm.
But he was from playing, because with my dogs, they were running around so rough, but it broke through.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually 2 colors. There's 2 pranas that you combine for that. One is kind of like explosive, and then another one generates fast healing. So we're trying to like explode the cells and then create fast healing coming up underneath it. So when you see it, it actually seals, like if you have, like, here's your skin, you get the cut, it seals it coming up like this.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you can pretty much see it. Like if somebody was to cut their hand or something, and this happened at camping. I had to work on a family relative at camping, and you can see it kind of seal up like this.
Wow. I think I want you to come to my next camping trip, just in case somebody.
Just text me. I can do it remotely.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. I had no idea that it could be broke up into sub areas and combined. And so you said one of them is explosive. So of course that caught my attention. I'm like, explosive energy. Tell me more.
That is the energy that we make when we work out. So like when we sweat produces that certain color of energy. It pushes things off of you. There's a better word for that. But explosive is a good word. And it's also the energy that's used when we go to the bathroom. So if you are constipated, then you would use that energy on somebody who is constipated.
Oh, that's interesting.
But it's very explosive. So it breaks things up. You use it when there's a big mass, something that I'm having a hard time cleaning up, then I would use that prana on it in combination. I kind of do every other when I'm breaking things up. And it can only, you have to have the training, and it can't be used on delicate organs. It's like you would never use that color on like the eye or the head area. In fact, it's only recommended shoulders down. So that's why you have to really understand the pranas and the different chakras and what their functions are and the different pranas that they pull in. So when you're manually cleaning it out, you know then what to apply, what's needed in that area.
Oh, that's
so Reiki is just doing it for you, and it is more divinely channeled because it's coming in with the intelligence saying, here's what's needed in this area. So they are 2 different, even though you can use them together, because like I'm a Reiki master like you, but I use Reiki differently in my sessions along with pranic healing.
I love that Reiki is so complementary to all the other energies, different modalities, whatever they're titled, so then you were alluding to that you bring it in and understand it with the chakras. So I wanted to kind of move into touching on the chakras and how working with different chakras. We haven't really gone into any deep chakra talk, just so you know, on other episodes. And so I'd be interested to hear how you kind of work that through. And I know we had kind of talked about with your journey, about with trauma and releasing trauma and health stuff and anxiety. And I know anxiety is a big thing right now happening with so much uncertainty, and wanted to see if you could use anxiety as an example with blending the chakras with, and share some of your story, if you feel so called to help explain some of it as well.
Yes. So the chakras have different functions. They have 2 functions. Their first function is to draw in fresh prana. So they spin kind of like a fan and with propellers, and they draw in fresh prana and supply it to the organs behind it. It's like an energetic vitamin. And so because different organs have different needs, they are drawing in different pranas for it, right? And to do that, they vibrate on a different frequency. So our chakras also hold our emotions and thoughts. So I ask my clients, you know, can you physically hold an emotion in your hand? I get a lot of funny answers. A lot of people say yes, and I think that's super cool. But I have to, like, can you physically hold an emotion in your hand? You can't. We have emotions, we can feel them. So what are they? And they are, emotions comes from the Latin word, which means energy in motion. It's not even cryptic. If you say emotions very, very slowly, emotions is right there. So E stands for energy, E equals MC squared. Emotion is movement. So if we have emotions, they're made up of energy, they are stored in the energetic system, which is the chakra system. Because the chakras are spinning and vibrating at different frequencies, drawing in different pranas, they attract and hold different emotions. So like, for example, if I were to ask you to think about the last time that you felt love, if you close your eyes and feel it in your body, it's going to feel a certain way generally in people and kind of expand out. Normally it comes into the heart area and then expands out and feels warm, maybe golden in the body. But if you were to close your eyes and think about the last time that you felt stress, that would feel a little bit different in a different area of the body. Generally, people feel a little bit lower in the stomach area. It feels like the knots in your stomach or shortness of breath. And then if we think about the last time you felt anxiety, a lot of times that shoots up to people's heads, kind of like that red, like, you know, sweat, sirens are going off, I'm dying, I'm panicking. Because it kind of starts as stress. It's triggered by stress, which is a little bit lower in the solar plexus area, but it has to then go up and shoot past the throat chakra, which is where we hold a lot of the worry and the self-criticism, and then it goes into the head. So it's really, anxiety is really built up stress that has nowhere to go. So it goes up and it hits the worry in this area, and that's why you feel it in your head.
Oh, now does that explain too when you start to feel anxiousness? You can, you can feel it in your like gut area, all of the root chakra, sacral, and then you almost feel it kind of like pouring up through your whole body.
It shoots up, yeah.
Mhm.
When you get too full,
Yeah.
right? If you can't ground it out or calm things down,
Mm-hmm.
your breath work or any other techniques that you know. So the grounding is always like your just exit chute. If you just think of like you're putting laundry in the chute, you know, and just goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So we ground energy out, goes down to the earth. Mother Earth loves that. It's just like fertilizer for Mother Earth. You're not hurting Earth by grounding out any of those stress energies. But if it gets too full and it rises up, it's going to shoot up to this whole worry. And then the throat chakra is responsible for the mouth. And that's when you feel like you just have to talk about it and things get replayed over and over and over. Any of that is going to come from the throat chakra.
Oh, that's why so many women, especially, process through talking.
Yep.
Ah, that's interesting. That's interesting because that is how so many people talk through what it is. And then you're kind of sending out that vibration out of something that's not such a great positive experience, perhaps.
Well, if you don't know how to like release it, or if you take it on as your identity,
Mm-hmm.
then it sticks to you. But if we're just talking to release and let it go, that's okay. But when we're identifying over and over with it as it is who I am, then if it's who you are, it's going to stick to you.
Oh, so if we want to own it as one of our stories, it's going to stick. Now, is it going to stick in your throat? Is it going to stick in your head? Where is it going to,
There's a
what?
couple There's a couple places, but the throat is one of the main places. So throat, the solar plex area is another place, because that's where we identify with the self. So the solar plexus, I call the me chakra, or a teenager. I call it a teenager chakra because it's all about them, you know. And then the heart is where we connect with other people. I call that the married chakra. Like before, if you were just living in solar plexus and like you're just making decisions for yourself. But when we get married or have a family and have kids, you start, oh bless you, you start having thoughts and decisions about other people. Like, hey, maybe I should think about this before I make this decision, you know, for myself. And then when we come up to the throat, we're actually making decisions for the community. So when we start talking about helping the community, and we're more focused on things just outside of our family. So we get a little more involved with community action, and we want to talk about that. And then when we go up to the crown, it's oneness. That's more universal energy. We just look at everybody as one, and we have a really strong compassion muscle that we've been working out when we get up there.
Wow. I never really thought about that. Like how you just explained it with, you know, moving from self to family to community to oneness through the chakra systems. I haven't really heard it explained like that. So
they have a lot of different uses, like with those two functions, you know, where they support the body with prana, but then they hold your emotions and your thoughts and your energetic body there. So we all have thoughts and emotions.
So when you're working with somebody, you're actually using your wand to kind of clear out and then bring in what they need, right? Yeah. Like I remember people doing this, right? Yeah. Like I remember because I think I was recovering from a broken heart. And so they would spend a lot of time, right? I was it was at the end of my 20-year relationship when I think I found it. And so they would constantly work in that whole heart chakra area. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So tell me about how did you I don't want to say fall into this, but how did all of this work come into your life? I always say Reiki always comes into your life, but you know, how did all of this find you?
It found me through my teacher. My teacher is vertigo. So I just, you know, a decade ago, I just woke up one morning and my head was just spinning, and I thought I'm getting a short version. I thought I had a stroke, but the doctors diagnosed me with the virus vertigo, which is, it has a longer name. I don't know how to say it. I don't want to know how to say it, but it's probably similar to what people experience with COVID now. You know, if they happen to get COVID and then they lose their taste and smell, it's the same type of virus. They think that it causes, what's it called? When half your face goes paralyzed. I can't think of that. Bell palsy. You just wake up one day, the nerve has been inflamed and it goes inactive. So it screwed up my balance system.
Wow. That would be kind of difficult to wake up to.
Yeah. And I was a single mom and 2 boys to raise, and, you know, working. And so it's like with COVID, some people's taste and smell comes back within a couple of weeks or a month. And then some it takes longer. And then some, when it comes back, it doesn't come back the same. I actually worked on a gal. Her taste and smell are rancid. I may be saying that wrong. Everything tastes like bad meat to her now. So that happened with me. It didn't come back soon. It didn't come back easily, and it didn't come back right.
Well, that could be a shame because food
Yeah.
is pretty amazing in life, one of the pleasures of life.
Well, that was with my balance. It's just the same as like people that have, COVID, it just didn't come back right. So
Mhm.
the recovery they said was like a year and it's bumpy. So I was like a year and a half into this bumpy recovery and I stumbled into auricular therapy. And at the time I had like static in my head. I could just hear it. It was constant. And I went for my first session and I sat up and the static was gone. I was like, oh, wow, this is really amazing. So I started doing it and then learning about it and was really good at it. So I started learning how to do it. And then I was just helping like friends and family. And then I just was following people around in the grocery store, that anybody that had like a sling or a limp or anything that looked like a wound. And I'm like, can I touch your ears? And like trying to massage their ears and giving them tips on what to do. And then I thought, I have to become an acupuncturist because I wanted more. I was so hungry to learn different modalities and how to help people. And I just had a heart to help people. So, but I was a single mom and I live in Oregon. We have a very nice acupuncture school here. But it's 3 years commitment and it was $80,000. So I just said, just keep taking a step forward. It's going to work itself out. And when I took that step forward, I stumbled into energy work. And I signed up for Reiki and Pranic Healing. They were both 1 month apart. And I just really resonated with the Pranic Healing. And it gave me enough tools where you can kind of do. So with Pranic Healing, we work more with the chakras, and acupuncturists work more with meridians. But I can work with meridians, and it just gave me enough where I'm like, okay, I got enough tools to help people.
Yeah. And thanks. I didn't realize that that was some of the difference with acupuncturists too, is that they're working with the meridians versus the chakras, because I believe in having an acupuncturist. So, in fact, I was just texting with her yesterday. No. So that's interesting. So what is the difference then if somebody's listening going, well, what's a meridian then in
Mhm.
comparison to a chakra?
So the chakra is drawing in the energy. So it's like if we were the refrigerator, and so you plug the refrigerator into the outlet. So that's a chakra. And then the energy has to go through the wire to turn on the refrigerator. That's a meridian. So if the refrigerator isn't working, it could either be the outlet or it could be the wire that has the issue.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm working on the outlet because that's where you plug it into the energy source. That's what's drawing in energy. And the wire is the meridian, is what transports the energy through our system.
Ah, I like that. Oh, that's a great analogy. How it transports it through so it can go to all of the places that it needs to.
Yes.
So then, as you're working with somebody in the chakras, you can, when you're clearing it, you're going to see like if it's rotating the wrong way, or does it get full or sideways? Because I've heard people say that to me. Oh, your chakra was, you know, spinning the wrong way, or it was loose. And I didn't, I hate to sound like I didn't know what they were talking about, but I didn't quite get what they were talking about. Like, how could
Yeah.
it spin wrong? What would
I
cause
don't
a
know.
chakra to spin another way?
So they spin both ways. They spin clockwise and counterclockwise.
Okay.
One way is drawing in energy, another way is releasing things. So they're very similar to our lungs, where we inhale oxygen, but we exhale out carbon dioxide. But they spin both ways. I've seen them go like, so they're supposed to be kind of like round, right? They look like a party hat. They attach to us and then go out and they spin. I've seen them like kind of like this
Uh-huh.
sometimes, or they twist around, and I'm like, it is a little bit more challenging to get that straightened out. But I don't know what spin the other way is. They do get kind of, they can get like some holes in the roots, and so they leak. So sometimes that needs to be repaired up. Sometimes the petals get kind of stuck or wounded. I've seen that.
Oh, that's interesting. So is that like the emotions perhaps that were maybe going through the chakra and like
100%.
mhm,
That's what caused it. Yeah. So my best friend, she just transitioned out of her physical body into the light 3 months ago. And in the beginning, I was leaning to the left. So, you know, the left is the emotional side or the female side.
mhm.
And even though I was self-care and managing everything really well, my chakras were to the left for a couple months. I think I'm just kind of straightened out right now, actually. But they mirror your emotions. That's how I can kind of tell what types of emotions or thoughts people are hanging on to, where they're at or placed in the chakras. So it kind of looks to me like a clock, or how I interpret it. So I can kind of tell like if somebody has an issue with like their mom or their dad or husband or wife or grandpa, I can kind of tell where it's positioned in the chakra, but I'm just asking. I'm like, could be like mom or sister. Like I sometimes will feel funny saying some of this stuff, but I just give like a couple like mom, sister, or like niece. Like there's definitely some female energy over here that you're holding on to.
Oh, yeah. I could see where you'd have to kind of wonder like delicately if they're not
Yes.
ready to dig into whatever it is that's being shown to you.
Yes, a lot of people are like, when I start like saying stuff and they're like, oh, they didn't know this was going to come out and this is for real. So then sometimes the energy goes, whew. I've seen that a couple of times and I'm like, it was there, now it's gone. Like, and they'll tell me, you know, I kind of sucked it in.
Yeah. Yeah. So do people come, or when you're working with your clients, do they come with perhaps like a symptom or two, and then they're kind of like trying to help figure it out for themselves?
I think a lot of people want relief, but they actually don't understand that their physical symptom came from a trapped emotion or thought or belief that they were holding on to.
Mhm.
So my first question out of my mouth is always, you know, when did this start? And then what was going on with you? Uh, you know, 2 years previous up to when it manifested, because it takes a couple of years for the emotions to trickle down into physical. If you can catch it before, that's the best case scenario. But once it gets to physical, it can be healed. It just takes a little bit more work sometimes.
Mhm. So if somebody is feeling, I know we had touched on feeling anxious or
Mhm.
anxiety. So if people are feeling that, do you have any like tips, or you had mentioned, to go ground, but
Mhm.
I had an instance a couple weeks ago. I was driving down from Flagstaff for the first time down to Phoenix, and I'm in this interstate. I think it's an Interstate 17. I thought it was going to be this flat road. No, it was a windy mountain, speed racers driving around me, 2-lane road going
Oh,
down. And I've done a lot of work to release those kind of driving conditions in my, and just thinking about it now, I'm getting hot, right? Because
oh no.
I was anxious, like seriously anxious, because there was cliffs and yeah, it was not what I expected. And so I'm driving and I'm trying to, like have music on that's much more, relaxing, trying to ground and do all the things. But you're driving and it's not like I could pull over, right, and do it. And so I find that I'm gripping the steering wheel and then I'm just going the speed limit. Like that's people can go around if they want to go 20 or 30 miles an hour over the speed limit on a mountain highway. Look, go for it. So if you're experiencing these things, sometimes we can't always just like go outside, right?
Yeah.
So what suggestions, or what would you
Yep.
tips, I guess, could you help us with? Like,
Yes,
what
I
would
will
you
teach
suggest?
2 points right now to stop an anxiety attack in its tracks.
Okay.
So we can do it together. You can think a little bit about that driving thing, and you can just like give it a number, I guess, too, to like see where you're at. But you start, these are 2 reflexology points on your body. So you just take your finger and you would go to kind of this chest. Sorry, don't want to break my chair. Go to your chest area, and then you go straight back to a rib point, and you'll find a tender point on your rib. You want to like cross over, and we want to circle forward and say down, down, down. Tell me when you feel that tender point on your rib. There's mine. You can't miss it when you find it. So you can do this whenever you
Oh,
want in the
yeah.
day. It's
Mhm.
not going to harm you. This is turning down fight or flight. So when we're doing this, just say down, down, down. You can do this while you're driving. Nobody knows what you're doing. I've had to do this in Costco back when COVID happened, and I had a little anxiety attack in the checkout line. And the best thing to do with this is belly breaths. So you also want to place your attention on your belly button. When you're inhaling in, push your belly button out. Hold, exhale, suck your belly button in towards the back of your spine. And when that pain starts to go down, mine went down, you go to the opposite side and just go to like the chest area, like where the bra is at, if you're female, if you wear a bra, and then find like that tender point on the rib and circle forward. Oh, there's mine. So one side would
There's
be
mine.
more tender than the other side. And that's normally blocked on the one side. Ow! Stress. So keep breathing with your belly button. And then when that feels better, then you're going to take your thumb and your pointer finger and just come up here to your other ring finger and just slide it straight down to a divot in your wrist. And now we're going to circle to the right. We're going up clockwise. This is turning up rest and repair. So we've now turned down fight or flight. Now we're turning up rest and repair. So continue your belly breaths. Pushing your belly button out, holding, and sucking your belly button in towards the back of your spine. Now you can drive doing this. You can do this anywhere. You can do this in a checkout line. You can do this in school. You can do this in front of your kids. Nobody is going to care that you're doing this.
Yeah.
And then go to the other side. So you take your thumb and your pointer, just go to your ring finger and just slide right on down to a divot in your wrist, and then go to the right. And again, you can do this throughout the day if you need it. It's not going to harm you. You're only working with your own body here.
Yeah, this one's really tender.
Now, how does it feel in your body? Do you notice a difference?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually should have done it before we started our podcast. I forgot. I have clients that do this before like meetings and presentations.
Oh, yeah, it's a really good tip. Yeah, I can feel it because, it kind of reminds me of when you're doing work and you're improving yourself and you're healing yourself or releasing and all the stuff that we do. And I've had people ask me, well, when are you going to be done? And it's like, well, that was just I think a perfect example of like, well, life, you're still here having a life experience, and things are going to happen. Who would have thought that I would have had that level of anxiety? And now I think about like going down to Phoenix and I'm like, nah, not so much. There's, like, I don't care how much baseball's down there or live concerts or, yeah, that road. And so this is really good. Thank you. I can use these tips before I go. And then if I start to feel it as I'm
Yep.
driving down there, I would be able to then, have a little tool. Yeah. And I can drive and do that. So thank you.
Yes,
That's
you
super
can.
helpful.
You're
And
welcome.
is it called a certain technique? So if somebody wanted to go see another visual of that?
No, I learned it from somebody else and I just teach it to my clients.
Hmm.
They're reflex points. I work with mostly ear reflex points, but they're acupuncture points, but you can just use your finger on them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That would explain why one of them is so sensitive, right? The one that's here by the bra strap, I say.
Well,
The
I talked
rib.
to my acupuncture about it. She's like, I forget to use those points. So they're just they probably aren't a different place to get to, but yeah, it gets stuck and we have a bra there that constricted and
Yeah, it's really,
lotion.
yeah. Emotion, huh? Move that stuff right out. So I'm curious too to find out, the work does, the thoughts can become emotions, or we can release it, or identifying. So how can we use this work to stop identifying with some of those stories? So like now, right? Like use my just recent example. I now have a story
Mhm.
of the drive from
Yep.
Flagstaff to Phoenix.
Yep.
How can somebody listening, if they have something recent, whether it's big or small, like this is pretty small, but it can become pretty big if I stop living my life and never go down there, right? um,
Mhm.
but how can we stop identifying with these stories with this work?
We have to start looking at them as our teachers and learn from them. Like you said, we're here, we're evolving. That's what we're here on our soul's journey, is to learn. And you can tell when you're evolving when you say, look back, oh, I would have been a lot different 10 years ago. I would have handled that drive differently 10 years ago. Or if you were in an accident and then you see yourself release that, and then you see yourself driving differently in 10 years again.
Oh,
So
so like teaching
understanding,
our body. Hmm.
yeah. Well, a lot of times what I say to my clients when they get triggered, I'm like, we know there's the big sign, like right here, work on this, work on this.
Yeah.
Like when we look at them as our opportunities to work on something, and how would you respond under pressure? Like we have to have some sort of conflict in our lives to teach us something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, huh? Sometimes. But when you look back, you can see the opportunities, sometimes easier than when you're in the midst of it.
Right. But when we take them on as, oh, we're the victim, because we've all been through something.
Hmm.
We have all have our stories, right?
Yes.
But we're in these little bubbles where we just we go inwards and we stay in this bubble, and then it's hard to look out and find that compassion for other people to get you out of that bubble. Who was the guy on the Dancing with the Stars? I forget his name. He was immigrant, but he's a billionaire now. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Mm.
He ended up, did I say, I'm sorry, Shark Tank, but he married the girl on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, okay.
So he was actually suicidal a few years ago, and his priest, one of his exercises, he had him go work a soup line, and that was the one thing that pulled him out, was to realize that, hey, other people have problems too.
Yeah, take the focus off of our stuff, our own stuff. Get out of that cycle, start thinking about other people. How can you be of service to others?
Right. And when we go through these things, I'm sure what happened with you and what happened with me is the teacher gives you tools. So then you're able to now go help other people who have problems, who are praying for a solution, for a resolution to what they've got going on with them.
Hmm.
And I would not have these tools if I hadn't gone through what I went through.
Yeah, it seems to be, with all of the interviews that I've done on the podcast, is that there was always some pivotal point of where there was some type of pain, whether it was physical, emotional, spiritual, and they went seeking to find relief. And really the big inspiration for the podcast is that people may not have access or know about all of the different modalities or ways to be able to do something.
Right. Absolutely. And I was told time and exercise, which is fine. But I needed to speed that up. I had to take care of my voice and myself.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, one of the intentions of the podcast is to be able to give people resources to find out, what type of healing resonates with them, whatever guest resonates with them, whether they're an energetic healer or spiritual healer, in the healing arts, whether they're different types of life coaching. There's so many specialties within life coaching that really focus on different area, and even therapists, I'm having on, and authors, so that as they come together, they can give you, here's this type of healing, or you can try this, and depends on, the feeling that they're connecting with somebody, and to know that these are real people. This isn't the 1920s with the big, circus tent, and like they used to do, right? Like, but here are all these amazing different people that you get to meet through the interview process and see who actually resonates for you. So is there a particular type of client or thing, I want to say problem, but pain point, I guess, that most people or majority of people who come to you are seeking your assistance with all of the gifts that you have? What have you
I
seen?
love trauma. I just love working on it because I have a technique that releases it very effectively. And then once that's cleared out, then it's the building process. Then what was I supposed to learn from this? I help my clients to look at things from their soul's point of view so that they can stop identifying as the victim and gain what we're supposed to be getting out of this life. So with trauma, there's usually a lot of loss that people have gone through, either like a loved one or a relationship or like a pet. I've had a lot of clients that have had pets that have passed. And there's a deep connection with pets. So it can really affect people when that happens. So all sorts of things, anything from a phobia to stuff that we can't talk about because it would be upsetting for people. I work on all of that stuff.
Mhm. So you can actually help them release it and clear it out without having to go through the whole talking and revisiting, maybe triggering more trauma. Sometimes I
Yeah.
know that can happen with trauma healing.
So I go back to the root. So it usually knocks them out going forward. I'm just not dealing with the symptom or so even like with loss, we were okay, when's the first time that you felt lost? So we're gonna go back however old they were when it happened, and that should knock it out going forward.
Yeah. Well, and I agree about the pet loss as well, the trauma that's involved. I think it was last July that I lost one of my fur babies after 11 years, and very connected. So, yeah, it was traumatic.
Because pets connect through the heart. It's pure love.
Yeah,
That's why it's so hard.
well, that's wonderful that you can help. I mean, with all the different types of trauma, including the loss of our fur babies. That's really powerful to know that you can help with that pain that comes with it, or you know you're used to them taking up half of your bed because they're 95 pounds, and now you got a whole bed to yourself and you don't know what to do with.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's wonderful. Well, Cathy, for anybody who's for all the listeners here, they want to reach out to you, how can they reach you on social or your website or any of that good stuff?
yes, thank you. It's super easy. You just go to my website, it's thechakracoach.com, and right on the homepage, there's a link for a free discovery call. So it shoots you out a Zoom link, and I do a free chakra scan. So I just scan you from head to toe. I like to go into all discovery calls blind. I don't want to know anything about you. And I'll draw pictures and take notes and see what I come up with, the emotions that you're hanging on to, the thoughts you're dealing with. And I can also get some loop back for any physical elements you might be dealing with. I'll like, oh, it feels like there's some inflammation here, or there could be some pain there, stuff like that, and kind of pinpoint what's going on with the body. And then if you like my work, then we can talk about working together.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is really a great way, to figure out, without knowing anything about them, to be able to offer that, and then to see if it resonates and or not. So, well, thank you, Cathy. That's wonderful. I'm so glad that you were able to join me and that we're able to share, so much more understanding about chakras, even meridians, and pranic healing, and the differences between Reiki. Just thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's super fun to chat with you.
Thanks.